Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we are going to be looking at multiple disturbances in the Atlantic, including one that could impact the United States next week. We have a lot to talk about in this video, and as you can see right now, we're looking at the Atlantic satellite imagery. As you can see right now, we're looking at the Atlantic satellite imagery from this morning. We have multiple disturbances in the Atlantic. One disturbance right here, we have Tropical Storm Franklin, which is now expected to become a hurricane around this weekend. It's heading northward, so not really many land impacts anymore from Tropical Storm Franklin. But Bermuda might see some impacts later on next week. And we do have a new disturbance that just popped up yesterday. This is a growing concern for the Gulf of Mexico. Right here, disturbance, which now has a 50% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone within the next week. This will be heading northward into the Gulf of Mexico. And as you've been seeing over the last 1 or 2 months, we have pretty much no shear in the Gulf of Mexico with very, very warm water. So it is primed for this as it heads into the Gulf of Mexico. And there might be some shear over here around Cuba, but there's not a lot of shear currently in the Gulf of Mexico. So it really does have a decent track here to form into our next tropical storm. And looking at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, as you can see, we have disturbance 3, which is the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico threat. That has a 50% chance of developing, which we can read here. A broad area of low pressure originating along the East Pacific coast of Central America is forecast to move into northwestern coast of Central America. Caribbean Sea by this weekend. Some gradual development of this system is possible thereafter into early next week. And a tropical depression could form while it moves slowly northward, entering the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Tropical Storm Franklin currently has winds of 60 miles per hour, a central pressure of 998 millibars, located at 22.2 north, 69.9 west, and movement is northeast at 7 miles per hour. This will be nearing Bermuda as a hurricane, but as you can see, it does make a western turn, which brings it much more further out away from Bermuda, just in between the United States and Bermuda. So there definitely will be some rough seas out for the East Coast as we head into early next week. Look at the latest 12Z run from the GFS model. We're going to be looking at this potential Gulf tropical disturbance as we head forward into this weekend. You could definitely see that low pressure system just sitting off the coast of southern Central America. We head into the weekend, and this makes its way across Central America, located now by 6 a.m. Monday, just off Belize. You can see Franklin becoming a hurricane around Monday, and then as we move even more forward within time, the GFS model doesn't really have this developing as anything, but you can see there as it comes off the east coast, it does develop into a little storm. The GFS, however, does have a lot of rainfall over central Florida from this storm. Let's go on and take a look at the European model. And here's the European model, the 00Z run. And as we move forward here, you can see the storm down there in Central America suddenly moves across Central America. And there it is, located right there on Saturday. Again, just off the coast of near Belize. And this moves northward into the Gulf of Mexico around middle of Sunday. As we enter early Monday, this starts to move forward here into the Gulf, which we do have currently some wind shear across this area. So as long as it survives that little bit of wind shear, it will be entering the Gulf of Mexico and becoming a tropical storm. As you can see, by Tuesday, it strengthens into a tropical storm, potentially a minor hurricane, as it could definitely bring impacts to Florida around middle of the week next week. As you can see, heads off the sea as a tropical storm or hurricane, as we have another potential hurricane in the Atlantic. Look at the Icon model, the 12Z run from the Icon model. This does have it becoming a potential tropical depression as it heads into Florida, but Icon model doesn't have anything major as of right now. As you can see, it hits around the middle of next week. Not anything major yet from the Icon model. The CMC model does have this entering the Gulf of Mexico, strengthening into a tropical storm, potentially a Category 1 hurricane, before making landfall near the panhandle of Florida and then heading off towards the East Coast, bringing some impacts to the Carolinas, even Virginia, Georgia, and then heads off to sea towards the northeastern United States. So potential another tropical storm hinting at the CMC model. And this isn't even an invest yet, so we don't have a lot of spaghetti models out yet. With this, I do believe this will become an invest sometime this weekend, but they have located the low pressure system, so it will become a invest as long as chances increase. As you can see, it's a very weird storm that these models are hinting at, because GFS is really not picking up on it yet. Euro model is kind of a 50-50 on it, but Icon model, as you can see, CMC model does have it becoming a potential tropical storm. So we definitely do have some trends, but they're not 100% certain just yet. Let's take a look at the current conditions of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, we have 30 to 31 Celsius waters, so they're very warm waters. Definitely there's really no cool waters in sight in the Gulf of Mexico. It's mainly just this area that is very piping hot right now. So it's going to have those warm waters to strengthen as much as possible before it enters more land interaction as it enters the Gulf of Mexico. And here's the wind shear values, the current wind shear values. So wind shear does move away and stuff, but the current conditions here for the area, here's the United States. It's kind of hard to see because these are just white outlines with more contours on top of them. Here's Mexico, Central America, which is I'm outlining right now. Here is Cuba and the rest of the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico down here. And again, here's Florida right down there. So you get an idea of what we're looking at. And within those red contours, a lot of these red lines, this is unfavorable wind shear. Tropical cyclones cannot develop in this type of condition, but as long as the shear is short term, these storms will definitely make it through. We have some very favorable amounts of wind shear down here in the green, and that's where the storm is going first. But as you can see, we're having around 30 to maybe 40 knots of wind shear, so it's not a ton of wind shear, but it's definitely a bit to keep the development down a little bit, so it won't have a ton of time to develop into more of a major hurricane or so. As you can see, the Gulf of Mexico, where this is going to go, has some very favorable conditions for tropical cyclones. And you can see here with the shear tendency a little bit better, we have the wind shear over here across Cuba, across Mexico, and across a little bit of portions of Central America. And you also have a little bit of wind shear in the western Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, we don't have any wind shear over here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico where this is headed. So this is why I'm concerned that this might go into a rapid intensification cycle, maybe produce our first Gulf hurricane of the season. It's still a whiles away, so make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn on post notifications. You won't miss a single update live stream on this upcoming Gulf storm, first Gulf storm of the season. It's still quite a long ways away, so information will constantly change as we go throughout different model runs and different updates from the National Hurricane Center. So make sure you do stay tuned for more updates like this. Go to National Hurricane Center for any more concerns. nhc.noaa.gov for any latest information across the board for any tropical information across the Atlantic or the Pacific. Share this video with any friends or family that may have any concerns about this upcoming tropical storm and Tropical Storm Franklin. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.